This is a Fonzie Studio podcast. Welcome to Tales from the First Nations. I'm Jay Idle, and every week I'll share with you a tale and ancient wisdom of the native tribes of North America. I'll be joined by my cats, Dawa and Fonzie, who will undoubtedly make their presence known at some point, so I might as well just list them as co-hosts. We hope you'll enjoy the tales and wisdom, raise your vibration, and enrich your life with us every week. Welcome, friends. Welcome to the 51st episode of Tales from the First Nations. I'm your host, Jay Idle. It may be winter now, but when I was researching this episode, I was looking outside at a thunderstorm. I remember when I was a child, my mother used to say that thunder was the man upstairs bowling, or sometimes the angels were moving furniture. In many tribes, including the Lakota, Ojibwe, and Algonquin, they believed in the thunderbird, a colossal spirit bird whose wing beats created thunder and whose red eyes flashed lightning. Now, we've talked about the thunderbird before and how it was seen as a protector who brought rain to nourish the earth and punish evil with its stormy wrath. In some stories, it carried thunderbolts in its talons, striking down monsters or wrongdoers. Tribes like the Iroquois and Navajo spoke of thunder beings. They were celestial entities who controlled storms and acted as guardians of cosmic balance. Thunder was considered the voice of the Creator, and lightning a divine message or warning. These beings were often invoked during ceremonies for rain, healing, or protection, such as the thunder healing ceremony among the Navajo. Well, today I have two stories for you, one about the origins of thunder and one about the origins of lightning. Our first story is a Miwok story. The Miwok people, whose name means people in their own language, are indigenous to northern and central California. They were expert basket weavers. They use willow and redbud fibers to create watertight containers. And some of their famous baskets are actually even featured in our story today. The Coming of Thunder. Bear's sister-in-law, Deer, had two beautiful fawn daughters. Bear was a horrible, wicked woman, and she wanted the fawns for herself. So, this is what she did. One day, she invited Deer to accompany her when she went to pick clover. The two fawns remained at home. While resting during the day after having gathered much clover, Bear offered to pick lice from Deer's head. While doing so, she watched her and took her chance. With Deer unaware, Bear bit her neck so hard that she killed her. Then she devoured her, all except the liver. This she placed in the bottom of a basket filled with clover and took it home. She gave the basket of clover to the fawns to eat. When they asked where their mother was, she replied, "She will come soon. You know, she's always slow and takes her time in coming home." So the fawns ate the clover, but when they reached the bottom of the basket, they discovered the liver. Then they knew their aunt had killed their mother. "We had better watch out, or she will kill us too," they said to one another. They decided to run away and go to their grandfather. So the next day, when Bear was out, they got together all the baskets which belonged to Deer and departed. They left one basket, however, in the house. When Bear returned and found the fawns missing, she hunted for their tracks and set out after them. After she'd trailed them a short distance, the basket they had left at home whistled. Bear ran back to the house, thinking the fawns had returned, but she could not find them, so set out again, following their tracks. The fawns, meanwhile, had proceeded on their journey, throwing baskets in different directions. These baskets whistled. Each time she heard them, Bear thought that the fawns were whistling, and she left the trail in search of them. And each time that Bear was fooled in this manner, she became angrier and angrier. She shouted in anger, "Those girls are making a fool of me. When I capture them, I'll eat them." The baskets only whistled in response, and Bear ran toward the sound. No one was there. Finally, the fawns, far ahead of Bear, came to the river. On the opposite side, they saw Daddy Longlegs. They asked him to stretch his leg across the river so that they could cross safely, because Bear had killed their mother and they were fleeing from her. He did. And when Bear at last came to the river, Daddy Longlegs stretched his leg over again. But just as the wicked aunt of the two fawns was walking on his leg and reached the middle of the river, Daddy Longlegs gave his leg a sudden twitch and threw her into the water. However, Bear did not drown. She managed to swim to shore, where she again started in pursuit of the fawns. But the fawns were far ahead of their aunt and soon reached their grandfather's house. Their grandfather was Lizard. They told him of the terrible fate which had overtaken their mother. "Where is Bear?" he asked them. "She is following us and will soon be here," they replied. Upon hearing this, Lizard threw 2 large white stones into the fire and heated them. When Bear arrived outside of Lizard's house, she could not find an entrance. She asked Lizard how she could come in, and he told her that the only entrance was through the smoke hole. She must climb on the roof and enter that way, he said. And when she did, she must close her eyes tightly and open her mouth wide. Bear followed these instructions, for Lizard had told her that the 2 fawns were in his house. As Bear entered, eyes closed and mouth open, Lizard took the red-hot stones from the fire and thrust them down her throat. Bear rolled from the top of Lizard's house and landed on the ground, dead. Lizard skinned her and dressed her hide, after which he cut it in 2 pieces, one large and one small. The larger piece he gave to the older fawn, the smaller piece to the younger. Then Lizard instructed the girls to run about and see what kind of noise could be made by Bear's skin. The girls proceeded to run, and the pieces of skin cracked loudly. Lizard, watching them, laughed and said to himself, "The girls are all right. They are thunders. I think I had better send them up to the sky." When the fawns came to Lizard to tell him that they were going to return home, he said, "Don't go home. I have a good place for you to stay, in the sky." So the girls went to the sky, and Lizard could hear them running about up there. Their aunt's skin, which they had kept, makes the loud noises that we call thunder. Whenever the fawn girls, thunders as Lizard calls them, run about the sky, rain and hail fall. I like the idea of happy young fawns dancing across the sky and making the thunder. I'm very happy that the Lizard saved them from their wicked Aunt Bear. What a terrible family member to have. Our next story comes from the Sioux. The story is called The Man and the Oak. There once lived a Sioux couple who had 2 children, a boy and a girl. Every fall, this family would move away from the main camp and take up their winter quarters in a grove of timber some distance from the principal village. They did this because he was a great hunter, and where a village was located for the winter, the game was usually very scarce. Therefore, he always camped by himself to have an abundance of game adjacent to his camp. All summer, he had roamed around, following the tribe to wherever their fancy might take them. During their travels this particular year, there came to the village a strange girl who had no relatives there. No one seemed very anxious to take her into their family, so the great hunter's daughter, taking a fancy to the poor girl, took her to their home and kept her. She addressed her as sister, and the parents, on account of their daughter, addressed her as daughter. The strange girl became desperately in love with the young man in the family, but being addressed as daughter by the parents, she could not openly show her feelings, as the young man was considered her brother. In the fall, when the main village moved into a large belt of timber for the winter, the hunter moved on to another place, 2 days' travel from the main winter camp, where he could not be disturbed by other hunters. The young man had a tent by himself, and it was always kept nice and clean by his sister, who was very much attached to him. After a long day's hunt in the woods, he would go into his tent and lie down to rest. And when his supper was ready, his sister would say, "My brother is so tired, I will carry his supper to him." Her friend, whom she addressed as sister, would never enter the man's tent. Along towards spring, there came one night into the young man's tent a woman. She sat down by the door and kept her face covered to hide it from view. She sat there a long time and finally arose and went away. The young man could not imagine who this could be. He knew it was a long distance from the village and could not determine where the woman could have come from. The next night the woman came again, and this time she came a little nearer to where the young man lay. She sat down and kept her face covered as before. Neither spoke a word. She sat there for a long time and then arose and departed. He was very much puzzled over this woman's actions and decided to ascertain who she was on her next visit. He kindled a small fire in his tent and had some ash wood laid on top to keep the fire going for a long time, as ash burns very slowly and holds fire for a long time. The third night, the woman came again and sat down, still nearer his bed. She held her blanket open just a trifle, and he, catching up one of the embers, flashed it in her face. Jumping up, she ran hurriedly out of the tent. The next morning, he noticed that his adopted sister kept her face hidden in her blanket. She chanced to drop her blanket while in the act of pouring some soup, and when she did so, he noticed a large burned spot on her cheek. He felt so sorry for what he had done that he could eat no breakfast, but went outside and lay down under an oak tree. All day long he lay there gazing up into the tree, and when he was called for supper he refused, saying that he was not hungry, and for them to not bother him, as he would soon get up and go to bed. Far into the night he lay thus, and when he tried to arise, he could not, as a small oak tree grew through the center of his body and held him fast to the ground. In the morning, when the family awoke, they found the girl had disappeared, and on going outside, the sister discovered her brother held fast to the earth by an oak tree, which grew very rapidly. In vain were the best medicine men of the tribe sent for. Their medicine was of no avail. They said, "If the tree is cut down, the young man will die." The sister went wild with grief, and extending her hands to the sun, she cried, "Great Spirit, relieve my suffering brother. Anyone who releases him, I will marry, be he young, old, homely, or deformed." Several days after the young man had met with the mishap, a very tall man came to the village, with a bright light encircling his body. "Where is the girl who promised to marry anyone who would release her brother?" "I am the one," said the young man's sister. "I am the all-powerful lightning and thunder. I see all things and can kill in one stroke a whole tribe. When I make my voice heard, the rocks shake loose and rattle down the hillside. The brave warriors cower, shivering under their shelter at the sound of my voice. The girl whom you had adopted as your sister was a sorceress. She bewitched your brother because he would not let her make love to him. On my way here, I met her traveling towards the west, and knowing what she had done, I struck her with one of my blazing swords, and she lies there now, a heap of ash. I will now release your brother." So saying, he placed his hands on the tree, and instantly it crumbled to ashes. The young man arose and thanked his deliverer. Then they saw a great black cloud approaching, and the man said, "Make ready, we shall go on that cloud." As the cloud approached near to the man who stood with his bride, it suddenly lowered and enveloped them. And with a great roar, and amidst flashes of lightning and loud peals of thunder, the girl ascended and disappeared into the west with her thunder and lightning husband. I wonder if she was happy with her thunder and lightning husband. I imagine she probably didn't argue with him about anything. I guess it does go to show that sometimes the people we take pity on aren't always appreciative of what we give them. It's a sad ending for the sorceress, but hopefully the sister and brother found happiness in their new lives. It is with respect and gratitude that I offer you my blessings, and thank you for sharing your journey with me and sharing your time with me on this podcast. I wish you well, and look forward to sharing another story with you next week. If you enjoy the podcast, please like and review it in your podcast service so we might grow further. And feel free to reach out. Send us an email in the contact information listed in the show notes. Go in peace, return in peace, and may you be well. Our first story, The Coming of Thunder, comes to us from the now defunct pyramidmesa.com. It was reported by Edward W. Gifford in 1930. Our second story, The Man and the Oak, comes from the book Myths and Legends of the Sioux, which was published by Marie L. McLaughlin in 1960. For more great stories and legends, join me next week for another story here on Tales from the First Nations. I'm Jay Idleland. I'll talk to you next time. The beautiful song you're listening to right now is provided by my dear friend Scott Brocklesby, and our podcast Image of the Moon was provided by Mark Lawton. We will see you next time. All right, that's it. How'd we do, Dawa? Phones? Excellent. Then I'll share it.